So today we're talking about dopamine, motivation, and why AuDHD can somebody who is AuDHD rather can desperately want to do something, right? Fully understand why it matters, right? Possess the physical ability to do it and still remain completely motionless, not relaxed, not peacefully resting, just sitting there in a psychological hostage situation with the wine treat or a phone call. So, this episode is called My Brain Has Plenty of Goals, but it has misplaced the go button. Before we get into it, this episode is educational and is not individual medical advice. Medication decisions belong between you and a qualified medical professional who understands your health history, not between you and somebody on TikTok or a podcast holding a microphone beside a Himalayan salt lamp. All right, let's get into it. So there are days when I can write an entire podcast episode, design content, respond to comments, research a neuroscience topic, reorganize the document, and develop a detailed plan for something I didn't even know I cared about until 7 minutes ago, and then walk by the same empty water bottle 12 times and not put it where it needs to go. I see it and I know where it needs to go, and I'm physically capable of picking it up. And the recycling bin is not located in another country. And yet my brain responds as if I have asked it to personally carry the bottle to Mordor. And this is one of the most maddening parts of having ADHD and autism. Because the problem is not that we never have motivation. Sometimes we have enough motivation to accidentally start a small business at 11:47 p.m. Problem is not, or the problem is that our motivation does not always arrive for the activities that actually require it. It arrives for researching the history of abandoned amusement parks. It arrives for reorganizing every photo we have taken since 2013. It arrives for building an elaborate spreadsheet to help us avoid making phone calls that has been on our list for 11 days or months. The motivation exists. It's there. It is simply being managed by a raccoon wearing a headset. And when you have spent your entire life being told that motivation is a character trait, this inconsistency becomes deeply personal. You start thinking, why can I do this but not that? Why could I do it yesterday but not today? Why do I suddenly become productive at the exact moment the consequences become terrifying? Why do I need panic, novelty, pressure, praise, or a tiny little treat like I'm a nervous rescue animal? And the most painful question is, if I truly cared, wouldn't I just do it? The answer is no. That sentence has emotionally waterboarded enough neurodivergent people. Caring and initiating are not the same neurological processes. You can care enormously and still struggle to convert intention into action. You can love your family and friends and forget to respond to their text messages. You can value your career and still avoid opening an email. And you can desperately want to clean home and still feel unable to begin cleaning it. You know that taking a shower will make you feel better while your body reacts as though a shower has requested your tax returns, blood type, and 3 professional references. The gap between wanting to and beginning is real, and for many of us, shame has been living inside that gap rent free. This pattern is motivation variability. It's an inconsistency of ability to activate, initiate, and sustain effort and stay connected to future reward. A lot of ADHD educators describe this as having an interest-based nervous system. This is a useful lived experience description, although it's not an official medical diagnosis or a complete neuroscientific model. It describes the reality that attention and effort may become easier to access for us neurodivergent people when it contains things like interest, novelty. So you're interested in the topic. It's new. It's urgent. So there's anxiety behind it. It's a challenge. It's a competition. You're getting immediate feedback. It has some type of emotional meaning, or the consequence that is going to impede if you don't do the thing has finally grown teeth. Meanwhile, tasks that are repetitive, delayed, unclear, emotionally uncomfortable, or low in immediate reward can feel almost physically inaccessible, like making a phone call to make a doctor's appointment. No, that's not personal at all. Like even when they're super important, even when they are important, because often important tasks come with expectations, uncertainty, fear, and 17 invisible substeps hiding underneath a trench coat. This is why just prioritize what matters most is not always helpful. Your brain already knows that the task matters, and sometimes that's part of the problem. Importance can increase pressure, and pressure increases threat. Threat can increase avoidance, and then avoidance increases shame. Shame makes everything just heavier. And then someone tells you to just get it over with, and now you're considering living permanently underneath a blanket. ADHD motivation is not simply absent, it's often context dependent. That explains why you might clean your entire house before a guest arrives, but you can't clean one countertop on an ordinary Tuesday. The approaching guest creates an immediacy, a clear deadline, social consequence, and visible finish line. Suddenly, the task has enough neurological volume. Yesterday, the mess quietly suggests that cleaning might be useful. Today, the doorbell is scheduled to ring at 4 p.m. and the mess is holding a mic. We have activation. This is also why last minute pressure can become so seductive because it works. Now, it's not always safe or peaceful, and it doesn't work without sacrificing 3 years of your life expectancy, but it works. The deadline transforms a distant consequence into a present emergency. The task becomes vivid. The competing options fall away, and the nervous system releases stress chemicals like cortisol. And the brain finally is excellent. The building's on fire, and I understand the assignment. We're not necessarily choosing chaos because we enjoy it. Sometimes chaos is the only project manager who has consistently shown up for us. Let's talk about the dopamine piece because the internet has treated dopamine like it's a sparkly liquid stored inside your skull. So, according to social media, you can apparently drain it, detox it, hack it, stack it, fast from it, recharge it, and possibly summon it by standing barefoot in the sun while eating 12 almonds. Dopamine is not simply a pleasure chemical. It's a neurotransmitter involved in several different brain functions, including movement, learning, attention, reward prediction, motivation, and deciding whether something is worth the effort. Researchers often separate liking from wanting. Liking refers more closely to the pleasure you experience when something happens. Wanting refers to the motivational pull that makes your brain pursue it. Dopamine appears especially important to the wanting pursuit, learning an incentive salience system, not merely to feeling happy after receiving something. This helps explain why an experience that many ADHD and AuDHD adults know painfully well. You know that completing the task will feel good and you might even enjoy the result, but your brain isn't generating enough motivational pull towards the steps required to reach it. So you like having clean laundry, right? You do not necessarily want to perform multi-generational saga required to clean the laundry. Sort it, carry it, load it, measure it, start it. Remember that it exists. Move it, dry it. Remember it exists still. Remove it, fold it, and put it away. At this point, laundry is less of a chore and more of a limited television series. The reward, clean clothes and drawers, is very delayed. The effort is immediate. The boredom is immediate. The number of transitions is immediate. And the clean drawer is just standing somewhere in the future saying, you'll be grateful later. Later? Man, I barely believe in tomorrow. So it's tempting to say that ADHD means that we just don't have enough dopamine, but the actual science is a lot more complicated. ADHD is not diagnosed with dopamine blood test or brain scan. There is no tiny fuel gauge behind our left ear reading dopamine empty. Please insert novelty. Research suggests that differences in how dopamine-related networks function, including systems connected to the midbrain, striatum, and prefrontal regions, Those are three completely different parts of the brain. And as I mentioned earlier, all the things that dopamine influences, those things are also in a lot of different parts of your brain. A PET imaging study of adults with ADHD found differences in dopamine markers within brain regions involved with reward and motivation. Those differences were also associated with measures of inattention and motivation. This does not mean that every ADHD person has the exact same dopamine pattern. It means that dopamine related reward pathways appear to be a meaningful, part of the condition. Functional brain imaging studies have also found that altered activity in the ventral striatum during reward anticipation in some adults with ADHD. This part of the brain helps represent the motivational value of an upcoming reward. Essentially, how loudly the possible payoff is calling your name to do the thing. Some studies have found that reduced activation during anticipation phase in adults with ADHD, although findings vary across ages, the way your ADHD presents, tasks, and individual people. And the last part matters because ADHD is not just one identical brain copy and pasted into several million people. We have different genetics, environments, histories, medications, stress levels, sleep patterns, hormones, co-occurring conditions, personalities, and nervous systems. Neuroscience describes group level tendencies. It does not tell you that every Tuesday at 2:15 p.m., your left nucleus, accumbens has officially just resigned for the day. So, one major issue is simply whether is not okay. One major issue is not simply whether we enjoy rewards or not. It is whether the future reward feels enough right now to organize our behavior. And many people with ADHD show steeper delay discounting. And delay discounting means that a reward may lose subjective value as the wait becomes longer. $10 today can feel more motivating than $20 next month, even though $20 is objectively more money. The immediate option feels neurologically vivid. The delayed option feels like an urban legend. Research involving adults with ADHD has found greater self-reported aversion to delay and differences in how delayed gains are valued. This does not mean that ADHD people are incapable of planning for the future. It just means that the future may not consistently generate enough emotional or motivational weight to compete with what's happening in the here and the now. That's why you'll be glad you did it later is often catastrophically weak sales pitch. Later Carmen is a stranger. She has never helped me fold a fitting sheet, so why am I apparently doing all this labor for her? Future benefit may be logical, but it's not activating. The current cost is visible and the reward is invisible. So the brain keeps choosing whatever offers a faster shift in stimulation, relief, certainty, or emotional state. That might be checking your phone, starting a different task, eating something, researching something, rearranging something, or opening the refrigerator 6 times as though a completed task might eventually appear behind the cheese. So your brain is constantly making calculations about effort. How much energy will this require? How certain is the reward? How soon will this pay off? How uncomfortable will the process be? How likely am I to succeed? Is there something easier, safer, or more stimulating available? Most of this calculation is not conscious. You're not sitting on a couch with a clipboard conducting a formal cost benefit analysis of taking the garbage outside. But somewhere in the system, the task may be receiving a deeply unfavorable Yelp review. Research on effort-based decision making suggests that ADHD can affect how people evaluate the cost of physical and cognitive effort. In a 2023 study, adults with ADHD who were tested without their usual amphetamine medication showed less willingness than in comparison to participants to investigate cognitive and physical effort or rewards. When testing after taking medication, their willingness to invest effort had increased. Another study found that methylphenidate increased the willingness to choose high effort options with larger medication-related change in the ADHD group. This does not mean medication magically installs morality. It does not turn a bad person into a good person, and it does not make every task easy. These findings suggest that these systems, including dopamine and norepinephrine, can influence whether effort feels worth investing, and medication can improve the activities of dopamine and norepinephrine in your brain. And that can be life changing to understand because many of us have spent decades interpreting an effort allocation problem as a personality disorder called I am apparently the worst. Medication may help some people access attention, inhibition, working memory, persistence, and motivation more consistently. Studies have shown that therapeutic stimulant medication can affect dopamine availability and dopamine related activity in brain systems, often involved in attention and reward, though individual response and side effects do vary. Medication is not the only support, and it's not inappropriate or accessible for everybody. But when someone says you shouldn't need medication to do basic things, I would like to gently remind them that glasses are also technically a tool for doing a basic thing. And I also wear those. And nobody slaps the glasses off out of your hand and said, have you tried seeing harder? Because that would be ridiculous. So let's add the autism into the ADHD. Research specifically examining the combined lived experience we call AuDHD is really still developing. So we need to be careful not to pretend science has perfectly mapped out every feature of the AuDHD brain, because it hasn't. A lot of research has studied ADHD and autism separately or measured traits of both without fully capturing what it feels like when they both coincide and coexist within one person. Studies suggest that reward processing in autism is varied and highly dependent on the type of reward, context, individual interests, anxiety, and co-occurring ADHD symptoms. Translation: we should not reduce autistic motivation to autistic people do not find things rewarding, because that's inaccurate and honestly a little insulting. Autistic people can experience enormous joy, curiosity, attachment, passion, and motivation. The reward may simply be more specific, internally meaningful, sensory compatible, predictable, or connected to a focused interest. For ADHD people, motivation can feel like two departments that refuse to share a calendar. The ADHD side says, I need novelty, and the autistic side says, I need predictability. The starting is not just one action. It can require stopping something else, shifting attention, predicting the steps, tolerating the uncertainty, regulating the sensory input, and accepting that the outcome may not match the image in your head, all while regulating your emotions. And that's a lot of neurological paperwork for just make the phone call. So your brain is part of your body. And I know this is shocking information, especially for the workplace that behave as if employees leave their nervous systems in a parking lot. The cost of a task changes depending on your physical and emotional state. The task feels manageable when you're rested, fed, regulated, interested, and, alone. It may feel impossible to do when you're exhausted, overstimulated, interrupted, hungry, emotionally activated, or recovering from mass fatigue. The task didn't change. The availability of resources changed. Think of motivation less like a personality trait and more like the result of an equation. Expected reward minus effort cost, minus uncertainty, minus discomfort, plus urgency, plus available energy, plus emotional meaning. This is not a literal formula, so please do not tattoo it onto a neurologist. It just captures kind of the basic point here. Your nervous system is estimating whether mobilizing is worth the cost. When your system is overloaded, cost rises. When the reward is delayed or vague, its value falls. When the first step is unclear, certainty arises. When shame becomes attached to the task, emotional discomfort rises. And then we ask ourselves, why the body will not move. Meanwhile, the task is standing there, dressed like the final boss of executive dysfunctions. Let's talk about some actual tips and tricks that you can do for that appointment, that hyper focus, that phone call, that email, all those things, because shame makes it a lot worse. And understanding dopamine and the reward processing doesn't remove the responsibility. It just changes how we approach responsibility. You're still responsible for your choices, your commitments, and repairing harm when symptoms affect other people. But responsibility is not the same as blame. Blame says you failed because you're bad. Responsibility says this pattern is real. So let's support make success more likely, and that difference matters. So we are not trying to turn just start into another weapon, because the true entry point is not complete the task. It's stand near it, open the document, put the laundry in the machine, put one dish in the dishwasher. Just make the first smallest step that you can. So here's what I really need you to hear. Your motivation may be unreliable. This does not mean that you are unreliable at your core. Your ability to begin a task is not a direct measurement of how much you care. Your productivity is not a neurological lie detector. Your unfinished laundry cannot testify about your character, and your unread emails are not evidence for the prosecution, okay? You are not lazy because your brain needs a stronger signal, a closer reward, a clearer first step, a less sensory friction, more recovery, or actual support. You are a person living with a nervous system that does not always mobilize according to importance. Okay? Sometimes it mobilizes because you found a song with the exact correct beat and briefly became the main character in a cleaning montage. We take the wins where we find them. The goal is not to become a perfectly consistent productivity machine. Those do not exist. Even the people selling the 5 a.m. morning routines are probably crying in the pantry somewhere. The goal is to understand your activation patterns well enough so that you stop treating every difficult moment like it's an emergency. Because you've spent enough of your life believing that inconsistency means you're broken. You're not broken. You're not secretly careless, and you're not failing because you need interest or immediacy or support or medication, structure, rest, or a reward that exists before the heat death of the universe. Your brain is trying to decide what deserves the energy. And sometimes the math is inconvenient. Sometimes its priorities are a little unhinged. And sometimes we will ignore it, just like the important bill, for 9 days and then spend 45 minutes comparing the wingspans of prehistoric birds. But this brain has also carried you through every difficult day you thought you wouldn't survive. It has created ideas from nothing. It has noticed details that other people missed. It has loved deeply, learned obsessively, adapted repeatedly, and kept searching for a way forward even when the go button appeared to be missing. You don't need more shame. You need better bridges between intention and action. You need compassion that does not remove accountability, that makes the accountability actually possible. And the next time you're sitting in front of a task unable to move, I hope you remember that this moment is not proof that you don't care. It is not proof that you are a failure. It is proof that you have a nervous system, and your nervous system is having a problem. And nervous system problems deserve support, not a courtroom, and not shame. Although, for all legal purposes, the laundry remains guilty of several crimes. Anyways, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day for listening to Authentically ADHD. I know you have a million choices that you could choose from to listen to that could educate you about your brain and your neurodiversity. So, from the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate it. And if you can, try sharing it with somebody you think may benefit from it, or share it to your socials. And don't forget to tag me at authentically ADHD _ podcast. Remember, take care of your brain, take care of your body, and you are not lazy. Your internal project manager is simply a dopamine dependent raccoon with no formal qualifications. And somehow we are learning to work with her. Until next time, stay authentic, and we will talk soon.